Hey, Christy Renee here from Rewire and Christy Renee Healing Ministries. Thank you for being here. If these videos have been helping you at all, can you please like, share, and subscribe, and especially subscribe. I am trying to bump up my subscriptions so I get some more of the benefit of YouTube, but I always forget to ask, so I'm asking first this time. On the last video, I talked about my transformational experience, my quote-unquote NDE, where I was totally without oxygen and without heartbeat for 15 minutes, between 10 and 15 minutes. And I'd said in that video I would come back on and talk to you about some of the things that I'm noticing with the pharmaceutical companies. And I don't know if you can say that word on here or not. I haven't paid attention in such a long time to what you can and can't say. I don't really know. So we're going to leave that at that. But if this gets taken down, I apologize. And I already have 2 strikes against me. So if I get canceled, I apologize. But you can find me on, well, probably not yet. But one of these days you'll find me on Rumble. Here's what happened post hospital was I was actually approached in the ICU by a pulmonologist, which is a lung doctor. And basically upon waking up one day, and I think it was like right after I literally had come out of a coma, he walked in, sat down in front of me, and I felt like he was like right in my face. And he goes, "You were dead for 10 minutes. Your asthma's out of control." And he was being gentle. He was being very nice, but he was also being very forceful. And I was just like, literally, I remember just sitting there swimming inside myself, just trying to pay attention to him, because I was like, who are you? Like, what do you want? And he's telling me all this stuff about myself and what had just happened to me, which none of I had heard yet. So didn't know I had died, didn't know I had been in a coma, right? All this stuff. Didn't know my lungs had collapsed, didn't know my heart had stopped, blah, blah, blah. But he told me, we're going to get you hooked up and take care of your asthma so that this doesn't happen again. And so in the state I was in, I was, in agreement with that. It made sense. But if you are awake, to any degree, you probably know that our medical institutions are not what they have put themselves out to be. Starting with the Rothschilds back in, whenever it was, the 1920s. My date's probably off on that, but way back. They kind of took everything over and flipped the script to benefit them, right? Like everything else. Script got flipped, benefits them. Everything benefits the community, right? Benefits their community, not ours. And so this guy, and I don't know what he knows and doesn't know, so I'm not angry at him. I'm actually really grateful, because through him doing that, I came to a greater understanding, right? So it was beneficial for me to go through this process. But basically what he did was start prescribing stuff. And so the first thing they ended up putting me on in the hospital was this little purple disc, which I wish I had it to show it to you, but it's for asthma. Some kind of steroid, works through the adrenal glands, like most of them do. So you end up with adrenal gland dysfunction, which I've had for years, and I never recognized that that's what it was from. And it's like a powder, so it sticks in your mouth and it'll cause thrush. I've also had a horrible candida issue for years, underlying, what would you call it, like infection, right? So every time they take blood work, they're always telling me, oh, you've got an underlying infection, and they want to give you more antibiotics. And I'm like, no, because it won't touch it. But it was this candida infection, which came from the steroids for a lifetime, because I've been an asthmatic my whole life. So he switched me to that thing from a fluid one, which you would just puff and it would be the spray, right? So it's a dry spray that you're supposed to inhale, but it all gets stuck in your mouth. It's ridiculous. But they say it works if you can inhale a little bit, which at the time for me was very little. Because my ribs were still in so much pain. I was having a hard time inhaling. from the CPR machine, right? From the, what was it called? From the machine, the device they hooked me up to get everything moving again. Lucas machine. So all of that occurred, and he's like, come and see me, right? And he put me on another thing too that was a pill, montelukast, I think it's called. And so I get out of the hospital. I have an appointment with him a few weeks later, go see him, walk into the office and sit down, and I'm waiting for him to come in, and they're trying to do one of those breathing tests on me where you have to blow out really hard into the machine to make it move, and I couldn't do it because my rib cage is still inflamed. I'm still swollen from the Lucas machine, from the beat down that I took from that. It saved my life. I bless it. I'm grateful for it, but it wrecked me out pretty good. So I'm sitting there, and before I got to the point I was at his office, I had a bit of a dream and heard in this dream, look up that pill that you're taking, look up the montelukast. And so I got up the next morning and did, and you know, the Ventolin, the albuterol, stuff we've all been on for years if you have breathing issues, is your rescue, right? So it has its drawbacks, but the only thing you can't do without is the need to breathe, so you just take it. Same with some of the inhaled steroids. And so you just do what you have to do. But the montelukast was a whole nother thing. So I had looked it up, and I looked up black box warnings on your prescriptions. If you don't know what those are, find out. Google it, YouTube it, whatever, so you understand it. I looked it up, and one of the warnings on that one was mental health issues. Now, years and years and years ago, coming out of all my trauma from childhood, I had been called, and even my son's trauma, right? So he was born with a heart issue, and in dealing with that, the surgery from it, there was a huge mess that caused some issues. It was like a blunt force trauma to his brain, but it was lack of oxygen, lack of blood flow. So he had some serious things going on. And helping him grow up was super tough because nobody could ever give me a straight answer. We didn't know what was wrong with him, what happened to his brain. And so all this stuff was super tough. But in the course of all of those years, at some point I was diagnosed as bipolar because of the ups and downs, but nobody ever asked me, hey, what's going on at home? Hey, what was your childhood like? Which I didn't remember, so I couldn't tell anybody what it was like. I had no idea, I had no memory of it. But even with my son, the ups and downs of daily struggle that he was going through caused me to go through ups and downs. Now, that wasn't a misfiring brain or a misfiring bunch of neurons or the chemicals and hormones and stuff. That was literally the ups and downs of life. Like, help me through that, right? But that's not what happened. They put you on a ton of medication and call you bipolar. So figuring all that out, and actually an energy worker sorted through that with me and helped me get off those medications. It was amazing. So getting off all that stuff. In fact, she does brain integration, right? So I don't know. I'll drop her information below if you're interested in looking her up. She's out of Denver. Absolutely amazing. So like learning all that and understanding how some of these medications work, this one montelukast thing caused mental health issues, including death by suicide. And like, why would you take this? Why would you put something in your system that's going to cause a mental health issue, right? And it was one of the predominant, like, be careful, right? And pay attention. If you have issues, sue your healthcare provider. And I'm just like, seriously? So I'm sitting there in his office, and I said that to him. I looked this stuff up, and I saw that it causes serious mental health issues. I'm like, is there anything else that does what you're trying to get this to do without those side effects? Do you know he skipped right over me? He skipped right over everything I said and just kind of went on with whatever he was heading toward. And then in the midst of all of that, tried to give me something called Spiriva, right? I don't know what this is, but it's a card where you can pay as little as $0 because this stuff is apparently super expensive. And you go look up the side effects of it, and it's in lists. So there's like 5 different lists from bad to worse to Like, call your doctor, get to the emergency room, don't worry about it, hopefully it'll blow over, those kind of lists. There's 5 different ones for this stuff. And I'm like, so we're going to stack insult onto the injury by adding medications to my body that are going to cause other problems that I already have had before. And I don't want them again. Like, I've been there, done that. I ain't playing this game. So there was this one. There was the purple thing, which I actually switched to budesonide, is what I ended up on for my inhaled steroid, which I was already on before this happened. I just wasn't taking it regularly. And then albuterol, right? So, but then he told me he wants me to take this thing. And it's some kind of shot that you would take for allergies. And they call this, instead of just asthma, you have, I think it said Z asthma or X asthma. Oh, E asthma. I'm totally off base here. E asthma. And the E stands for eosinophilic asthma. And so you treat it with Fazerna. Who comes up with these words? I don't even know. But basically it's to help with allergies. So it works on a different pathway than your adrenal glands. And so it's supposed to help you breathe better by taking the allergens or the effective allergies out of your system. And what he was basing this on, that I had this huge overblow of allergies, which is what he told me when I first woke up, was that my blood was like toxic with allergens. And he had a different word for it that I can't quite think of right now, but it was basically that idea. And that's what was causing the inflammation in my lungs. And so he wanted me to take this shot, and first words out of my mouth were, what are the side effects? And he goes, well, the worst one, when you first start taking it, can be anaphylactic shock. Just like, seriously. And he said to me, he goes, well, that's why we give you the first 2 in the office. So you have to come in, and then we'll teach you how to do it. And then you can give yourself I don't know if it was weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or whatever, but you can give yourself the shots after that. But you can have an allergic reaction to whatever this stuff is that's in here, and cause yourself all kinds of amazing issues. And then on top of it, there's lists of side effects. So I got coherent. Those of you who know me, we just go back to coherence, get inside my heart and sit there for a minute, just kind of holding these in my heart and asking, what do I do with this? Like, what do I do? I had the answer before I even went in. And it was a young lady that came to the hospital, a friend of our family's, said, hey, I have this chiropractor who's also an acupuncturist who does allergies, but he does a lot of other stuff too. And that kind of sat there for a while, but then it came back around in a dream. And what I understood was the fact that he used my blood work from right when I had gotten into the hospital is where the idea that I had all these allergies from, because my white blood cell count was super high, but my whole body had shut down, right? All the organs, my heart, my lungs, obviously, everything had just shut down. So of course your blood work's going to be off. But he told me in the office, I'm not going to take new blood work because that blood work will definitely qualify you for this. No, seriously. So I end up going to the acupuncturist, to the chiropractor acupuncturist. And what he did, the first thing he did was reset my autonomic nervous system. That changed a ton of stuff. He started putting my ribs back into place that were all pushed out of place. That changed a ton of stuff. The pain level alone went down by almost 50%, if not more. The autonomic nervous reset balances your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And he looked at me when he was testing all this stuff, and he goes, that was a huge trauma, so I'm just going to guess your autonomic nervous system is like way off the deep end. And sure enough, it was. And I was like, would that include like stuff from, childhood nonsense? And and whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, like if you haven't taken care of it, it'll trail you, right? It'll chase you down. I'm like, great, right? So I've been breathing and doing all my stuff for years, and my autonomic nervous system, because of this crash, my lungs crashing and my heart crashing, was totally off the deep end. And him bringing that back into alignment first literally changed so many different things in my system. I'm just blown away by it. I don't even know. So I don't go to this guy. I don't go to this pulmonologist. I have another appointment set up that will be canceled. But going back into my heart space and asking is the point of all of this, right? If you don't have contact inside your heart with your higher self, with your spirit, with God, whatever you want to call it, you won't get the information as easily and as readily, which is exactly what happened for me in here. Was, look this up, look this up, look this up, getting the information and being reminded, right? Even as I was going through the healing process and wasn't moving, wasn't thinking, wasn't functioning very well. And it brought me back around full circle super quick. So I'm barely a month out of this. I went in on December 2nd with the collapse, got released from the hospital on the 7th, and I think today is the 11th of January. So that was December, and this is January. And I just want to say, like, as we're going into this new year, and as you're starting to hear more and more things about how we're treated in the medical industry, you're just a number. You're a cash cow, right? The insurance companies are related to the pharmaceutical companies. They go hand in hand. They're like puzzle pieces that fit together. And when you don't understand that, when you don't see it, and you allow another person to tell you what you need to do, right? And making it sound, I mean, he had piled up, and I think his count was, he was sitting there counting and got to 6, and he goes, we've got 6 really good things on board. And I'm like, no, we don't. I only do 2 of what he gave me. I only do 2. I'm back to the budesonide and the Venolin. And then I was shown, right, because I kept asking, how do I heal this mess? I got shown this, the Essene Gospel of Peace, and Yeshua is talking in here about how he learned to heal, and it was air, water, and sunlight. They poison the air, they poison the water, and they're trying to block the sun, right? We've all heard this, and whether you think it's conspiracy or not, like, we have barely any sun for the last number of days. And of course it's the winter time, but this is verging on ridiculous what's going on across the United States right now. You have to have super high powered water filters and then add minerals and stuff back in just to get clean water. And God bless you on breathing, right? So what this book has shown me is what I've been doing, and I've been talking to the angels. Right? Talk more. That's the other thing that I got from this experience, was if you're not talking consistently to your team, and I mean your angel team, not your physician team. Well, they are my physician team now, my angel team, right? The breath work, all the stuff that's come up, that's been shown to me, and just like stuff arriving in my emails, a Soma Breath free class showed up, and I'm like, seriously? How does this happen? Right? Because I asked. Show me how to do it right. Show me where to get the information. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. If you're allowing the medical institution to guide your life, I would suggest that you take a deep breath, like literally take a deep breath. Look into the stuff you're changing. And I am not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do. I can't even tell you how to do it because I don't even know myself. I am playing around in my own system, figuring this out. That's what I am doing. But take a look and read, know what you're taking, at least know that much, at least know that much. And if you ask Spirit, in your heart space, you will be given information. You just will. That's how this works, right? So interesting. All right, subscribe. Please subscribe before you jump off. I bless you. I thank you for being here. And my next few videos are actually going to be on some of the information that has been reiterated to me and that I kind of walked away from. and expanded on, and then other things that I saw and what I understood from it. So thanks for being here.